Yes, we can post consistently on our company's social media, even when we have no help and we're super busy. And I know this from experience. I had to find a way to easily get good content out there a few times a week while staying sane. So let me tell you about my super easy social media consistency hacking system. Let's call it Smooches, as I walk you through my typical day. I wake up naturally each morning thanks to chronic anxiety. Woohoo! But the one thing I'm not anxious about, thanks to Smooches, is if I'm doing enough on social media. That's because I've learned it's better to rock it on 1 or 2 social media sites than to spread yourself too thin over multiple sites. And you'll see later in this video that even though I mass post on multiple social media sites through a third-party tool, my personal energy is just on one site. For me, that's LinkedIn. That's where most of my potential clients are. LinkedIn is where I'm proactively engaging with other members and using some of LinkedIn's fun features. Now, yes, if I had a large team, I'd be doing a lot more on other social media sites. I'd be posting on Facebook groups. I would be posting daily Instagram reels, blah, 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 blah. But just because a social media site or social media feature exists does not mean we should use it. Maybe it would benefit our business somewhat if we used it, but not enough if our limited time and resources could be used somewhere else in a much more meaningful way. So long story short, just choose 1 or 2 social media sites, tops, to concentrate on and feel good that you were strategic enough to ignore the rest. Now, every morning I eat my homemade muesli, which has a strategic mix of oats, dried fruits, seeds, and nuts. To save time, I make a huge dry batch and then dole out what I need each day. Likewise with Smooches, I recommend creating a social media content calendar that lists the general topics you want to hit each month, and you use this same calendar month to month. Okay, so what does this content calendar have to do with consistency? First of all, you create this calendar one time. So unless something extra special is going on with your business that you need to get out there on social media, you don't have to re-strategize the general structure and the general topics that you're going to cover every single month with all this color coding and all this other crazy stuff that I see other social media experts teach people to do, because really it is not sustainable for most business owners. Maybe their advice is spot on if you have like an entire marketing department, but do you have an entire marketing department? I don't. So let's make our content calendar as simple as possible. The other reason this helps with consistency is that you never have to ask yourself what general topic you should talk about next or what type of post you should do next, because having to stop and make those decisions often gets in the way of us posting consistently. With a simple content calendar, we already know generally what we want to post because we figured it out way in advance. The calendar system that I've created may be the easiest content calendar you have ever seen. And I created an entire video about it and even talks about how to decide what topics to cover and how often to post. And I'll include a link at the end of this video, so stick to the end. Now, in addition to running a full-time business, I also homeschool our son, Jacob. Obviously, general subjects to teach are math, English, history, and more, but how do I know what specific lessons to teach within those subjects? If I had to come up with my own lessons, I'd be like a deer in headlights. So instead, I get my ideas by following a pre-made curriculum. And again, when it comes to social media marketing, we may know the general topic we want to hit on a particular day, but how do we know what specific piece of content we're going to use that falls under that topic umbrella? And again, decisions like this can stop us in our tracks and cause us to stop posting consistently. So let me tell you about a tool I absolutely love, and it's especially helpful when I want to share something educational, but I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to figure out what that should be. And the tool is called Feedly, and its free version is pretty robust. I've never used the pro version. I'm sure it's good too. Anyway, Feedly puts together all the online sources in your niche in one spot that regularly share blog articles that you could share with your audience. And if you don't know all the online sources in your niche, that's okay, because Feedly can give you some suggestions too. By the way, and this is important, even if you have your own library of blog articles and videos that you've created yourself that you can share with your audience, it's still really helpful to sometimes share content from third-party sources. It adds variety to your content, and the source is still going to get full credit for the content because you're going to share a link to their article or video or what have you. So there's no copyright issue. The key is positioning yourself as a resource who is happy to share content that helps your audience. Now, a good part of my day is working with my clients and making my YouTube videos. It's a lot, but I love it. And to squeeze this all in, I have to be the queen of efficiency. And likewise, on social media with Smooches, we have to be super efficient with our messaging. Where I see a lot of business owners get stuck is that they're making their messaging way too complicated. And not only is this inefficiency going to hurt consistency, but this convoluted messaging is going to confuse the audience. And that hurts their social media results, and literally nothing good comes out of this. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say you're a pizza shop and you're putting out a promotion for National Pizza Day. So you spend 2 hours of your life, 2 hours you will never get back, creating this hot mess of graphic to put on Instagram. And how do I know it takes 2 hours? Because I saw a graphic almost exactly like it on Instagram. So I spent 2 hours recreating this graphic and of course eliminating all incriminating information to protect the guilty. And I needed to show this graphic to you to prove a point. Remember, people scroll on social media. They're busy, they're distracted. No matter how amazing your pizza special is, they're not gonna stop to read some War and Peace post about a pizza special that is squished into a graphic about this size on their phone. And if you're a regular to this channel, you know I've talked about this time and time again. But for purposes of this video about consistency, what's really sad about this post is that it took someone a really, really long time to create a bad post. Here's a concept. How about taking a short amount of time to create a better post that'll get in audience's heads? So I recreated the flyer to look like this, and it took me 20 minutes, which is 15 minutes longer than I like to spend on a post. And I'm not saying this graphic is perfect, but it's still way clearer than the original. And by the way, if you find yourself spending too much time creating a graphic and trying to smush in a lot of information, just quickly type them out really briefly in the caption that appears above. Wait, this is above. Above or below the graphic, depending on the social media site. Apparently I can do social media strategy, but I don't know my directions. By the way, speaking of captions, do not write paragraphs for a single caption. Just write 1 or 2 sentences when you can. That's all most people are going to read anyway. If you have a super long post, break it up into a few shorter posts. Research has shown over and over again that in general, shorter captions perform better than longer captions. And I know what the trends are lately, but it goes against the research. So let's just trust the numbers because we're going to save time and get better results. And by the way, speaking of better results, if you're liking this video so far, it would mean the world to me if you would hit the like button, because it really does tell YouTube to deliver this video to even more people. Thank you. Now, at some point in the evening, my family needs food. Apparently, it's some human biological thing. And I love cooking from scratch, but it's hard for me to do that every single day. Please reference the earlier parts of this video to understand my limited bandwidth. So I batch cook when I can, so we have plenty of leftovers to live off of until I'm ready to cook again. And a huge part of smooches is batch creation. And this comes in different forms. For instance, we can batch create graphics. Let's say every single time we share a customer testimonial, we use a certain template graphic, like the words are always against a certain template background. So why not, using that one template in one sitting, create all your testimonial graphics, because you're just copying and pasting words onto a background. So now you have a library of testimonial graphics, and you can tap into that library from time to time to spread out in your social media. And same thing with videos. Maybe you want to create a library of short 1 to 2 minute videos, videos that you're just recording on your phone. Pretend this is a phone. And if you're going through the whole rigmarole of already setting up the tripod and making sure the lighting is good and there are no distracting sounds, and maybe you put on makeup and you got your hair just right, you might as well bang out several videos at one time. And obviously you can batch create posts in general, and that includes posts from articles you find on Feedly. Mostly all of my social media posts are written 1 month in advance. But even if you batch create once a week or twice a month, that is still better than stopping what you're doing every single time you want to create a single social media post. And then you can use the pre-scheduling tools that are on most social media sites, or you can use third-party tools like Buffer or Hootsuite or Social Pilot. I personally use Social Pilot, and I have a link to Social Pilot in the description if you want to check it out. But no matter what, pre-scheduling posts saves an enormous amount of time and helps us be more consistent. And after a long day, I need to chillax the rest of the night. So I build in chillax time. Not that this relaxation completely cures my anxiety, but I'm sure it helps. My leisure activity is learning languages.
Ein großer Elefant frisst Karotten auf dem Parkplatz.
That may be a weird hobby for most people, but for me, it is super relaxing. And with smooches, we need to plan that built-in breathing room because we're way more likely to be consistent when we can breathe. So let's start mapping out your plan now. And it starts by creating the easiest content calendar ever. And you can learn all about it right here in the video in the top right corner. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.